folks, and welcome back to Glenn and Adrian's Rock Talk. That's Adrian.
And that's Glenn.
And today we are going to do an album review of Keep Me Fed by The Warning. Now, having said that, I'm not sure how long it's going to take, so it may not all be in this one video. So bear with us on that, but we are going to go through each song individually. And in fact, we're going to take The Warning along with us. About a month ago, they put out a 2-minute video for each song on the album, kind of describing what was going on with them when they recorded it, when they wrote it, that sort of thing. So we're going to look at their commentary first and then give our own commentary. So I do have a copy of the LP right here. Thought I'd just point it out. It's a very nice LP. I'm very satisfied with it. 12 songs that are all kind of ushering in a new phase of The Warning for a lot of their fans.
Yep.
You know, yep, there you go.
You can't see it too well because of the light, but
that's all right. Yeah, we can see it. Yeah, the CD version. That's great. Ever since we started delving into the other influences of The Warning, just their different musical tastes and things, as we did with MTV Push's interview and with Amoeba Music, we learned a lot about their influences, and now I can view this album a little bit differently than I did when it first came out and when I first heard all the songs. Now it makes a lot more sense to me than it did at first when my only real reference was Error and the albums before it. And of course, each album's a little different. If you're interested in that, we did a video on What's in My Bag, and take a look at that. We look at pretty much every album they discussed. But for now, we're just going to go over Keep Me Fed.
Looking forward to hearing what The Warning has to say about their own music. And
it's always interesting.
You know, I've got some of my own ideas as well.
All right, very good. Well, let's just go ahead and dive right into the album.
Hey, we're The Warning. I'm Danny.
I'm Pau.
I'm Ale. And today we want to talk to you a little bit about our newest album, Keep Me Fed. But before we go into the songs, we want to talk to you a little bit about the album.
Yeah, so Keep Me Fed is our 4th album, and it kind of encompasses what we were living while we were writing this album. We were on tour. It was a very chaotic time. The title kind of talks about this need that we all have today to constantly be fed with social media, entertainment all the time. We just need to be there. We can't be bored for a little second.
Overstimulated,
yeah,
like
all the time. So it's about how we are like seeing this, but also how we participate in it. Like we also consume the same thing, but we also feed other people with our art.
Which is kind of what we wanted to say, like with the cover, you know, the whole table full of things and just like excess of food and everything, and we just kind of like interrupting, but at the end of the day,
we're still there.
We're still at the table, you know, so
deep.
There are some recurring themes in it, such as, you know, consuming, and songs like Satisfied, lines like Make Me Perfect for You, and such. It seems to be about consumption.
Yeah, and also maybe unrealistic expectations. And,
yes.
And that's another theme that it shows up a lot in this album and also in their previous music. And social media, for that matter, overconsumption of social media. I definitely hear what they said, and I am actually a little bit concerned about a trend in music where the artists are producing fewer albums, taking longer between albums so that they can continue touring, and they're spending less time actually putting the albums together, writing the songs. Even highly gifted artists, such as The Warning, are not putting out albums as often as, say, bands did in the 80s or the 70s or the 60s. And a lot of that comes down to the fact that people aren't really buying music anymore. They're more invested in the tours and the merchandise and things like that. So maybe they'll go see a show, maybe they'll buy some merch. They might buy an album and put it on their wall. They might not even play it per se. They may not have a record player. They may just be listening to their digital files or looking on YouTube or anything like that. I am hoping that that trend will someday turn. But for now, I think that's what they're dealing with. So when they're talking about how they made the album, they only had a certain amount of time to actually make it. It was a very limited amount of time. It really didn't get the time that you would want an album to have. And there may even be a song or two that I'd like to talk as we go along, where maybe that was a slight issue. All right, so let's take a look at their words about 6 Feet Deep.
All right.
So 6 Feet Deep is the focus track. 6 Feet Deep was one of the last songs that we wrote on the album. We wrote it with Dan Lancaster and Anton DeLost. We wrote it in Monterrey, which was very fun. It's our hometown. It's a song about dealing with somebody who has a God complex. And just like venting about how frustrating it can be to push like those type of people off of their pedestal and kind of like ground them in reality for a second.
It was such a fun song too.
It was,
because at one point we were like writing lyrics and like that's so mean, but like that's what needs to be said.
Yeah, we were just letting it out for sure.
For sure. And I feel like vocally this is one of the songs where I kind of like was pushed into a different direction in a good way. It was kind of like a challenge because I usually in our music we just kind of like let it all out and like scream, and here it was just kind of like sweet and whispery, and then in the chorus
there's a range.
There's a range. I had to use my falsetto too in the pre.
So one thing I noticed with the music video when we watched that was that there were a lot of themes that went back to their childhood or went back to earlier in their career as a child band. So it's essentially what they were. They were children when they started. There were all kinds of things buried in that video that alluded to that, like the outfits they wore on Ellen, and just other signposts from various stages of their career. And what people were telling me there was that it had to do with their not just their critics, I mean anybody around them, really, that might have been resistant to their moving forward life. I mean, not their family, but maybe some of their friends, maybe classmates. So that shaped things a little bit right there. So they're talking about somebody with a God complex, so maybe that's somebody that kept talking down to them, with a certain experiential superiority, perhaps. Like, these are just young girls. What do they know? Of course, they showed everybody. They had their vision, and they've carried it out. So, yeah, I think it's a great song. It's got a huge riff. It's got those super deep guitars.
The sonic experience of the opening riff with headphones on as it then goes full blast.
It's a heavy track. It's a heavy riff.
Yeah, and
a good one.
The song just has a musical landscape too that I really like. Quiet at first, and then it goes into full blast and goes back into a quiet part, and it's like the verses and the chorus and everything.
From a whisper to a scream.
Yes, exactly.
And back. They alluded to that a little bit there themselves. As a matter of fact, there's just a wide range, of emotion in that song. And
yeah, there is.
So, all right, so a very strong opener to this album. Next song up is Sick, which became a pretty big radio or whatever, satellite, or however people listen to music. became a pretty good hit. It made the Billboard rock chart, I think top 10.
Sick! That was the first single that we released in 2024 of this album.
Sick was one of those songs that really pushed the direction of the whole album.
For sure.
We wrote this song in 2022. Mm-hmm. We were just finishing a fall tour.
We were
exhausted.
Tired. We honestly didn't want to do this writing session. We didn't want to work that day. But it was our first time working with Anton DeLost, which became our producer for the whole album. And he wasn't answering his door. And we were like...
We were about to leave. We were like, if he doesn't answer in the next 5 minutes,
we were so tired. And I'm honestly so glad we didn't, because we ended up working on the whole album with him. It was just such an amazing songwriting session. We had instant chemistry with Anton, and we loved how Sick turned out. So,
I feel like it really marked the direction that we were going to take this whole album in. We were exploring things, like different things sonically, and I feel like it opened up a door to really talk about what was happening to us at the time. I mean, Sick is a song about fearing that you missed out on something. In this case, it's missing out on life.
Yeah.
And having like that space to make mistakes and just be human. And it's about like wanting to make those mistakes and wanting to feel human and just living life until it makes you feel sick. Sick, like the title actually came out because
this is so funny.
Anton, being the millennial that he is, kept saying sick.
He says
all the time,
sick
like,
all
oh,
the
that's
time.
so sick. That's so sick. So that's how the tagline came to be. Sick was so hard for me to learn. We had very little time to learn the songs. And since we were writing them in like remote writing sessions, it's not like I had my drum set and I was playing in these demos. So I had to go back and listen to the song like for like 3 times and just record it. And like trying not to mess up the drum patterns because they were like really tight with what you were doing in the bass. And for this album, like the recording process was so different. the first thing that we would record were guitars.
Yeah.
Then it was bass.
And at the end,
Then it was vocals, and then it was drums. So I could not just like change
That's a new order.
stuff if I like wanted to. Like with fills and stuff like that, I had like so much liberty. But with actual like kick drum patterns, it was like they're tied to the bass. So I could not just like wiggle my way out of it. Like I had to actually learn it, and I was so stressed out. But it's a good song. Like it's just so much fun to play
It's
live.
very fun.
It's impactful for sure.
That's a heavy-hitting song. For
Yeah,
sure.
it is. I always enjoy it when they start with a basic riff, like keeping a beat with the snare drum in this song. And then when they say sick, it all kicks in like a bomb going off.
For sure. It's got the same kind of thing, the dynamics that go up and down. It's generally pretty excited most of the time. You're mostly on edge, but yeah, they do kind of take you for a little ride there.
Yeah.
So,
Just the lines stood out to me. Bleeding just to feel alive. I'm rotting in my place. Life is nothing more than wasting time. And my reaction to that is, eek!
well, they've got a pretty sharp way to write their lyrics,
Yes.
It really, you kind of feel the point. It's almost, I hope it's not super accurate. I hope it's a little bit exaggerated. but they did say it was about fear of missing out. And I have seen other clips where they talked about writing this song. And I know that the context of that is them being a band that isn't necessarily in school like everybody else, isn't having the normal day-to-day interactions that your normal teenagers would have, for example. And that's where the fear of missing out comes, where they're not having the normal experiences that other people are in growing up. And so that's where it all comes from. And when you start looking at the lyrics from that point of view, it starts to make a lot more sense,
Yeah.
It's a little less painful. I mean, in terms of, you kind of get it. Okay, I see. Okay, so this is a sharp metaphor, is what it is.
Definitely. And
yeah.
also, I've met my share of people who also use the word sick in pretty much the same way that Pow described.
Dude, that's sick.
It's really cool.
Yeah, that's been around forever.
Yeah.
Whoa! That's kind of where it comes from, Very strong song. I enjoy it a lot. It was one of those that at first I didn't know what to make of, because when it dropped, we had only just listened to one warning track, and it was Enter Sandman. And we were starting to dive into other stuff that wasn't the new album yet, and it sounded quite different, But at this point, it's one of those songs I like hearing them play live. And they always kill it. It's often an opener these days, or close to it. Okay, shall we move on to Apologize?
Sure.
Okay, well, let's start by just noting that at the moment that we are recording this, they have never performed this song, but they are trying. Danny was on Patreon, and she said, Pow's still working out how to sing the Apologize while doing the drum rhythms that she is throughout the song, because I guess it's particularly tricky, I guess, is the deal. And Danny, for her part, has to play the whole song with a slide on one finger, which is something she has never done before.
Yeah.
As those of us who have tried playing slide guitar know, it's no easy feat to just suddenly be able to play really good slide guitar. It takes some time.
Takes some practice.
It's a whole other skill set on the guitar. It can take people years to master. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and listen to what they had to say.
Apologize. We're so in sync.
I know.
love it.
It's because that's how it goes.
Okay, Apologize was probably the first song that was written on this album, technically.
Technically.
I wrote the pre-chorus to this song in like 2016, so I was like 14.
A tiny pow.
I had that little snippet of the song, and I was just not able to use it at any time like in the past. I want to do the math. 8 years.
That's insane.
Oh, that's insane.
I don't like
That's
that
insane.
number. I don't like that number. But then I started writing. This song used to be called Hunger. So I
still
started
call it
writing
Yeah, me
Hunger, and I had that pre-chorus, and then we started writing Apologize. The three of us together, and then Anton was involved. And it's one of those few songs that really started out with like me on the piano, and then it evolved into what it was. I feel like
Very
such few
OG,
songs.
The Warning.
OG The Warning. Kind of.
I
Songwriting
honestly
process.
loved how this song turned out. I feel like it takes you on a journey. Like the whole song is just like the drop is just so unexpected, and I really love how like the song turned out from like
so
what it
different.
was. It used to be so different. I love how it turned out because I would have never imagined it turning out that way, and I honestly
used
just
to be kind
love
of
the
bad.
song.
Even the ending, we totally winged that out.
Yeah, like in the studio. Yeah,
Like,
at the very
that
last,
was-
like also the chorus. We didn't have a chorus.
You're right.
I remember
we
all
it was
gave up on
verse.
this song.
It was we all
like
left
in the
it.
studio, like even Anton, we were just like so stressed because we weren't finding
chorus.
we couldn't
The
find
riff sucked. The riff was
yeah.
mine. I'm a drummer, so it was not the best.
And
riff
we
in the
all
world.
kind of gave up on it. Like we were just like so stressed. We couldn't find the right riff, the right like sound, and it just at the end like
And now I love it.
it all just came together.
It is.
I love it.
We released like the little snippets, and it's the song that fans are most looking forward to.
Yeah.
And
They were
I love
captivated
that.
by it, yeah.
And I get to scream on the song. I get to passionately scream, apologize.
I get to hear
Over
you
and over
live
and
in my
Oh.
ears.
Oh yeah, that's better.
And I have to say this because, I mean, I had to learn how to play the whole song with a slide on my finger because that riff in the chorus has the slide. I've never played with a slide
Really?
before.
I did not know that.
So I had to learn how to do it in the studio and then for the live.
we have to
versions.
practice it for the live
Like,
versions because it's not
I
be
have
fun.
never done that before, and it's like challenge accepted.
You wait.
for sure.
I didn't know you haven't done that before.
Never.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Probably my favorite feature of the song is, with the slide guitar brought, that whole thing, in the middle of the chorus. I mean, I just love the hell out of that.
Okay.
I
Where it's just
don't even know why.
like that.
Apologize.
It's a nice effect for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives a certain unsteadiness to the song, which I think is required, given what's going on. I mean, it's clearly, if you're yelling apologize that loud, then something has got you ratcheted up a bit, And so that little effect really kind of brings that home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty strong song. I would love to hear what the original piano demo sounded like, though. That when she's talking about that, because I can totally hear her playing it. Would love to hear that someday. Maybe someday we will get treated to an acoustic version of Apologize, and that should be interesting. Especially getting the feel of the big scream in there too. So anyway, very much looking forward to seeing them play this live, and who knows, maybe we'll get lucky. We're going to Boston, so we'll see if they have it in their repertoire by then. Okay, so folks, as we go along, why don't you let us know what you think of each song? Just let us know your thoughts. Let us know any personal experiences you've had with the songs at shows or anything like that, or in your life where it made a difference. Be interested to find out. And keep following us as we continue the album. All right, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And if you enjoyed our presentation, please subscribe. All right, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one, all right? Take care, folks.
See you all later.